Joe Biden was falling asleep in a different country today. Yeah, he met with Netanyahu and read off some 5x7 index cards. Yo, that dude is totally gone, by the way. There's a bunch of clips that are making the rounds right now of him just stumbling, staggering, and stammering his way through a couple of different interviews, or at least attempted interviews, where his chin just kind of looks like a ball sack. It's all very unsettling, and it also is just a good reminder as to why all of this stuff is really heating up right now, because you take a look at the leader of the free world and you go, wow, I could probably take him in a fight. Actually, my toddler could probably take this guy in a fight. Like, nobody respects the United States right now, and you want to go out there and you want to try to be the world police, as so many of the neocons want to go out there and try to push. Yeah, I don't think so, man. If you're going to be the world's police force, you better be able to back up your words, because all we're seeing right now is a lot of checks being written and a lot of tough talk. But if you're scared by guys that are throwing rocks back at you after you mow down a couple of nurseries, well, yeah, it is not exactly going to be all that threatening. So Joe Biden gives Israel private backing. Couldn't give it in public, though. Just have to rely on reports, right? For ground invasion of Gaza. Oh, okay, good. So if Joe's going to go out there and give the green light, that's fantastic. I mean, he's fully in support of plans to eradicate Hamas. Well, that's kind of what Israel's already been doing by bombing the living hell out of the northern half of Gaza. And wow, by fully eradicating Hamas, what kind of leeway? What kind of leeway are you giving the Israeli government right now? Is that going to give them justification to go and also seize the West Bank, which, as we know very well, has nothing to do with Hamas at all whatsoever? But I'm sure, oh no, they're going to be fleeing, and we just got to go look over there just to make sure that nobody's, hiding over there, because, well, we kind of bombed all the different exits to go to like Egypt or flee out to Jordan or something like that. So they're obviously still going to be in the West Bank right now, because you can see even from the bullet points that are right there, yeah, it'll be a long and difficult war. Benny Gantz, a former IDF chief of staff and former defense minister, told Biden that the incursion could take years. Yeah, we know you've already been, bombing the living hell out of Gaza for years at this point in time, or as they like to refer to it as, mowing the lawn. Yeah, And remember, guys, Israeli president suggests that civilians in Gaza are legitimate targets. Yeah, that's about as fresh as it gets on that one. So just a reminder, as Jake Shields points out, they have total leeway. They're now getting the green light by their international brethren. So yeah, let the genocide commence. Is that what we're dealing with right here? Okay. I don't know, man. I really don't know what's ultimately going to end up happening, because you got the disapproval rating for President Biden hits a record high of 58% in new polls. Nobody likes what his administration is doing. Full stop. Everything that he touches turns to shit. I always try to play devil's advocate to my own arguments in order to give you the most unbiased. I'm sure everybody thinks that I have my biases and all that stuff, but no. I run thought experiments when it comes to this type of stuff, just thinking, okay, if I was a Biden supporter, what could I actually laud as any of his accomplishments? And frankly, I come up completely and totally empty, outside of being, not even at all cognizant of your surroundings and still being able to be propped up and being the leader of the free world. Like, outside of pulling the greatest charade over the past 3 years, there's nothing really to write home about. So the fact that the 42% of people are either indifferent or in support of this current president, I find that to be very, very perplexing. President Biden's disapproval rating is his highest it's ever been. The 80-year-old incumbent president vies for a second term in office. Yo, man, that's going to be, especially the videos today, like, he can't form a sentence, man, and he's anticipating, or he wants to make another 4 years a reality for his regime, thinking that they're doing such a good job. The record 58% of Americans do not approve of Biden's performance in the White House. So yeah, this isn't just the Biden presidency. This is, like, overall, there's never been a less popular president. You mean the guy who legitimately got 81 million votes is the most unpopular president of all time? Weird. I don't know. Maybe that's just a copious amount of buyer's remorse. And the president received particularly low marks for his handling of the economy, 32% approve. Seems about right. Foreign policy, 31% approve. Then you're clearly not paying attention. Among Democrats surveyed, 66% back his handling of foreign policy, and 74% approve of his work on the economy. I get it. These are the people that are going to vote blue, no matter who. Okay, that's his guy. That's their guy, and they can go ahead and plug their nose for the time being, and just, okay, maybe the next guy that comes through, maybe Gavin Newsom will be a little bit better. But outside of that, how do you honestly assess his presidency and see it as nothing but the cataclysmic failure that it actually is? You don't get to sub 40 approval ratings without losing large chunks of your base, and that's what's happening here. Clearly not, at least on the big issues, or the most prevalent issues right now. Pollsters called the results distressing numbers for the president facing re-election. And yeah, that's a still frame from the interview that's making rounds of him just going, I don't know what's going on. He looks like, no word of a lie, like he's leaving Israel and heading to Madame Tussauds wax museum. Like he's not all there, man. Like, I also find it funny that his liver spots are all conveniently placed underneath of his hair BBL from years ago. It's just wild to see as well. Biden's numbers among young voters, blacks and Latinos, are very troubling. Imagine that. Democratic pollsters Jay Campbell told the outlet, you start to think that maybe they've run out of patience and starting to show their decreasing regard for the president. In a potential head-to-head matchup against former President Donald Trump, Biden would lose by 4 points, the poll found. Well, but there's other ones now that RFK's out there. Okay, there's some news on that front, and yeah, RFK just made one of the biggest blunders he possibly can if it gets fair media coverage. He said that I would support an assault weapons ban. I would sign it first and foremost. It's like, that's just going to go ahead and not play well to anybody. After everybody, if you can even just cast your minds back to the summer of love in 2020 and what we can also pretty much guarantee is going to happen in the lead up to 2024, saying, hey, you know what, you guys don't necessarily need to be able to defend yourself. Not exactly going to play well to anybody, and especially if you're going to be running as an independent and you're going to need Republicans and Democrats alike in order to vote for you. Not exactly a winning proposition, but we'll see how well that gets covered by the anti-gun media. But Biden, okay, maybe this is leading to his unpopularity, given the fact that the dude just can't take a side when it comes to these types of issues. And yeah, even though he's standing there in Israel, didn't hear anything about the $10 billion in emergency aid that them boys was requesting from the United States. But Biden stood up there and said $100 million in new U.S. funding for humanitarian assistance in both Gaza and the West Bank. Why are you funding the West Bank unless you were talking to the Israeli leadership behind the scenes and, oh no, they're definitely planning something else? How fucking fantastic for everybody. Oh, and then you also got to go ahead and, double back on that because, well, Joe Biden was mumble fucking his way through the meeting with Netanyahu. The UN Security Council resolution on Gaza and Israel was just vetoed by the United States. They don't want peace, man. They don't want peace because they know that Ukraine and Russia is a total motherfuck. Like, it's done, man. It's done. It's dusted. We've already heard John Kirby say that, oh yeah, we're going to be tapering down our support for Ukraine, and Godspeed, you were a nice money laundering operation for the couple of years that you were open, but now we have another bouncing baby boy back in the Middle East, and hell, some of our shit's already still down there, and we got 2,000 support troops that are going to be down there. So yeah, we already got a soft deployment, and well, if things ever get really bad, we can just go ahead and wipe everything out because, hey, we got all of those trad cucks that are out there and those neocons that are really making a spin out of this hospital gimmick that's going on right now. Just exposing their warmongering tendencies. A lot of people, man. A lot of people off the back of that hospital situation from yesterday and the information that's coming out off of that. And that's what we're probably going to have to talk about over on Rumble because I got some pictures, I got some information that, it's not exactly looking all that favorable to the regime. And frankly, we don't really know what happened, okay? Because it doesn't really look like the hospital was hit in so much that the parking lot was hit. And, okay, cool. You want to say that it was an intercepted rocket that ended up going astray. All right, bet. That's kind of what you get when it leads to an explosion in the parking lot. And then also, because Gaza had been stripped of any of its, basic resources, no water, no fuel, no electricity. So obviously, in order to maintain and operate a hospital, you are going to need a substantial amount of generators, power generators, in order to make sure all of your hospital equipment runs. So then, of course, what are the generators going to run on? Fuel as well. Where are you going to store the fuel? In the parking lot. So yes, you have something hit the parking lot. It makes a big explosion. It looks atrocious. And then you can start to figure stuff out in the aftermath, and that's really what we've got. But like I said, we'll talk about that very, very shortly. Or if you're watching on Rumble, just continue to watch the video and we'll eventually get to that, or skip ahead. I don't frankly care. But all that stuff, man, it just all comes back to the fact that the United States has now completely lost the respect to the world. We're a laughingstock. We will say anything to run cover for Israel. Ooh, yeah, it really does kind of seem like that, especially with that sleep in that Biden had. Like, that's just paused right there. Biden doesn't really move all that much, and he's holding on to 5x7, index cards. You think I was being hyperbolic to begin with? No. That's exactly what was happening, and he's muttering, just not moving, and Netanyahu's like, oh my God, is this guy for real? Like, he was never the brightest bulb in the Hanukkah menorah back when he was a senator or vice president, but holy man, this is the best that you got? On top of this, he refers to the war with innocent civilians and children killed like a football game. Yeah, because he also referred to, those guys on the other side, I'll give them a little stipend of $100 million. The hunter says that's a little bit of money. Don't know, though. This will now escalate as we are starting to... we are staring at the real possibility of a larger war. Couldn't agree any more than that, man, because, everything was just kind of tampered down, which is funny. Wouldn't you think if Hamas was going to go out there, and the way that it's categorized by all those tradcucks that are out there, neo-cucks, we'll go with that one. The way that they want to categorize, Hamas as all of these, radical, jihadist, extremists that are out there, all of those extremists, those radical Muslims that are out there, wouldn't you think, the figurehead of the great devil from the West comes into Israel, wouldn't you be planning some kind of attack? That's what, now that, given the fact that Biden's actually home safe, I was kind of thinking, it's like, maybe is this kind of like a soft play by the deep state in order to drum up sympathy for whoever's ultimately going to try to replace Biden in 2024 by having a adverse event? I didn't want it to happen. I didn't want to speak it into reality. It's just, that was kind of one of those things I was thinking in the back of my mind. But no. I have other ways around this because, the world doesn't respect us. Our own people don't respect us because here you have protesters, people calling for peace in the Middle East, even though it's all going to fall on deaf ears, and all of these protests ultimately just don't really play out all that well. They get good camera coverage, but outside of that, man, they realistically amount to just a hill of beans. But here's another thing, that same commentariat sphere that will just say, these pro-Hamas people, they're just out there, they're supporting a swath of baby killers, and they won't stop until there's total and complete eradication of the Jewish population. It's like funny, from what you can actually see right there, the Jews say ceasefire now, let Gaza live, let Gaza be, Commentary sphere that would go ahead and, label them everything terrible under the sun will also make those same comparisons. Oh, look at that, that's an insurrection, they're storming the Capitol, they should be thrown away for years in jail. It's like, is that the best that you got? You want to compare this to January 6th, which I do think is completely and totally stupid, don't get it twisted, I haven't fucking shifted on that policy either. But yeah, man, no, go ahead and apply that equal standard to those people as well. Lock them up, throw them in the brig. I just want a gigantic red pilling, because that would be covered and that would be screamed from the rooftops if it were to happen to another group out there. Please make that happen. Mostly because, hey, if it goes and it wakes up the rest of the world, all right, bet, because, you can go ahead and throw Trump supporters away just because they're disposable and nobody in the media is going to run with that. But you take a bunch of people that are just against war, at least the way that it would be reported in the media, which Ben Shapiro, the way that he's, talking right now, that everybody's against the Jews, which is absolutely fucking wild. Have you paid attention to anything? New York Post, the Daily Mail, everything is Israel under attack. Funny, I don't remember anybody dropping bombs on Israel Israel. It's just these little militia attacks. Oh, I'm sorry. The only thing that they could seemingly systematically eliminate was just a music festival, but haven't seen any pictures of that. Seen a lot of out of context pictures of different houses that look startlingly the same out there. But pro-Palestinian protesters invade the capital. Seems like a lot of Jews. That's interesting. More than 300 demonstrators are arrested after demanding Israeli ceasefire by staging a sit-down in the rotunda of the Congress complex. Oh, good. They're arrested. I wonder how long they're going to be thrown in the brig for. Just enough to get a little bit of street cred, but not long enough for the media to just run back and properly cover, because they'll be on to the next thing in the next day. They're going to once again pretend to care. You guys all rushed, like it says right there. Progressive Democrats rush to blame Israel for Gaza hospital strike, as they call bombing a war crime and demand a ceasefire. Yeah, exactly. Stop bombing hospitals, okay? Either side. It doesn't matter, man. Like, a lot of people died in that, okay? And we got proof, and probably show that over on Rumble. But I think a ceasefire and a negotiation for peace would probably be the best thing. Okay, can we just go ahead and have peace? It's almost like I don't want anybody to be dying stupidly for a bunch of fucking governments waving their dicks around. Okay, but I think one side is probably a little bit more guilty than the others, as you have Doctors Without Borders here. Yeah. Israel, has given Al-Ahli Hospital. That's a different one than the one that was attacked. The Al-Ahli Baptist Hospital. That's the one that's going to be in question here. Just 2 hours to evacuate. Yeah, that's the other one that I thought was attacked yesterday, but no, it's a different one. Israel has since bombed 6 hospitals, potentially, right? Our staff are still treating patients. We unequivocally condemn this action, the continued indiscriminate bloodshed and attacks on healthcare in Gaza. We are trying to protect our staff and patients. But yeah, they don't care, man. Israel said they're going to bomb hospitals all week long. Yep, now the Bidens, just wheels up in the sky. I'd imagine, fighting's probably going to pick up once again tomorrow. And we'll have something new to talk about. But if you want to stick around on Rumble, feel free to click through in the link. It'll be in the description on the YouTube side. Or if you're one of them Rumble bad boys off rip, you know exactly what time it is over here, because we're about to dig deep into the hospital bombing, maybe by Gaza, maybe by Israel, but we'll get to the bottom of that very, very shortly.